do want to walk through those moments, those dramatic moments inside that courthouse. Now with our panel here, Misty Marris and, of course, Tom Winter. Misty, I guess my question to you, my larger question is, should he have had some type of restraints on him, number one? Number two, how does this impact that judge in sentencing, now having witnessed this?
Yeah, this is a dramatic twist in this case. So the judge has discretion about how to run that courtroom, how to keep him safe, as well as everybody else in that courtroom safe, and has to balance that against his rights as a criminal defendant and potential prejudice that could be imputed to him by seeing him in shackles during the course of that closing argument. So she's weighing all of those factors, ultimately concluding that there presumably wasn't a known safety risk and allowing him to proceed in that way. Now, of course, this incident, calling that into question, it certainly will impact sentencing. Remember, in order to represent yourself and in order to be a defendant in a courtroom, you have to be legally competent. That means you understand the nature of the charges against you and you can participate in your own defense. That relates to this phase of the trial. Now we're going into the penalty phase. And when you have issues like mental health concerns, suicidal ideation, to the extent that that's part of it, an attempted suicide, those are all factors that could be at issue when you're talking about mitigating factors that will be presented and whether or not the representation can continue as is. Remember, the beginning of this case, he went through multiple competency hearings, was determined that it is constitutional right to represent himself, go forward. He has lawyers who were there for procedural purposes only, could not comment on those substantive issues. But when you're talking about a sentencing proceeding and this happening at the end, all of that is going to be called into question.
Guilty on all counts. Max term is life in prison, is what he's looking at right now?
Yes, max term life without possibility of parole.
You know, Tom, when we talk about this, our viewers at home are going to be listening to this. We're not medical professionals.
Sure.
Clearly the man was having a mental health episode there. When you listen to his ramblings in his letter in court,
right,
he clearly was, maybe some people describe it, not all there, but he did get very close to almost killing the president, and we learned about how close he got at the onset of this trial.
I mean, the thing that people have to remember is that this shooting went down when the Secret Service agent, Robert Fricano, confronted him and testified in court. I do not know your mindset that day, but I know you pointed that weapon at my face. The Secret Service agent is in the golf course hole ahead of Donald Trump. So Donald Trump was on the 5th hole. He's on the 6th hole, scouting out, looking in advance, any potential issues. His then candidate, Donald Trump, played his round of golf, sees him in the tree line, sees what he thinks to be a weapon, sees it move, identify it clearly as a weapon, and fires on him before he even gets on the radio. It's the Secret Service with Donald Trump who hears the gunshots, immediately takes him into a protective custody situation where they just get him out of there and get him to a safe spot. They had that set up. Yeah, it does underscore the risks, particularly when somebody is not the president of the United States. If Donald Trump had been the president at that point, that whole area likely would have been cleared, but it's difficult, and it was difficult at the time from all of our reporting, the tremendous amount of pressure the Secret Service was under with two candidates, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, receiving the volume of threats that they had at the time. Ultimately, the system at that day appeared to work, but you got awfully close, Tom.
And Tom, we learned about the weapon of choice as well. It was a rifle. I understand during this trial, they tested the rifle. It got jammed on the second shot. Here's an image of it right now. Right. They also testified that it appeared the scope was, you can see it here, actually taped and glued to the gun, so they weren't sure if it was going to be usable, if that's the case, because I guess it wasn't mounted properly. But this is the kind of weapon he was using, clearly a high powerful rifle.
Semi-automatic rifle. From the distance where he was at, he could have been quite accurate. He was right around the 6th green on the golf course. So yes, if in fact the scope was operating properly and the gun was operating properly, and the Secret Service agent had not seen him that day, this could have been another very close or worse attempt on Donald Trump's life.
Again, if you're just following our news right now,